Okay, I'm really excited for this one because this is our first four-way jam session. I corralled the group so that we can have this I just feel like it's going to be really enlightening and very, very different than other jam sessions that we have done because we're going to go over happiness. And I feel like we've worked with thousands of people, and when in the consult room with them, they're like, yeah, like I want my anxiety to go away. I want my back pain to go away. I just want to feel like myself. But really what they're wanting is when all those things go away, then they want to feel like they can actually live their life and therefore be happy. So I really wanted to just kind of bring it to you guys so we can kind of discuss this. And I also feel like there's a lot of people that think happiness is one way of being. And if they're not that way of being, then they're not doing it right. And then they're set up for basically depression or lack in their life. So I just want to say that this is going to be shattering a bunch of paradigms of what happiness means, and it's going to be different. Our answers, I actually don't know their answers.
We have not prepared.
Answer.
We have not prepared for this.
This is not, yeah, this is no discussion beforehand. So this is all going to be raw and just like flowing. So I'm really excited for this. And another thing is that every time we're together or separate or whatever it may be, we get so many comments about, oh, you guys are so happy. So I really want to talk about what's behind the hood of our own happiness and why it is that way. And it's not just, this is how we were born, because actually it was like the opposite for me. It's cultivated and it takes work, I would say.
I think we were all born this way.
Okay, I was born this way.
As Lady Gaga
We were born this way.
Baby, we were born this way. And before
I was born this way, yeah, fully connected.
Love it.
And then I lost it, and then I'm back again in a different way.
There you go. Well, there we are.
That's it.
before you lead into asking all of us about that, like I think about like our office. So like 8.5 years ago when we opened up, we didn't call it REV Chiropractic, not because we didn't love chiropractic and what it did for us and going through school. It's just we wanted to be something different. We wanted to be more than just pain. We are REV Optimal Living. I think about even people that we just worked with just the last few hours, had a handful of conversations. 99% of people that originally come in here, they come in. Why? Because they're in pain, they have anxiety, they have the symptoms, right? And so they're not happy, but it's when those things go away, they continue to come here, and the conversations we're having, their ability to like show up as a husband, as a wife, as a business person, as an entrepreneur, like they're living their life to the fullest. And like that's our biggest goal here, is to help people live their optimal life, and everyone's life is going to look so different. But at the end of the day, we just want to get out of that pain. We want to get out of those things so that way we can live a happy, whole life.
I think we just want to live.
Yeah,
I just really think it's about living. And so let's talk about what that is.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw it to Loren first. I feel like I'm really interested to hear her perspective on it, and then we'll kind of like jam off of each other's responses and things like that.
Yeah, we didn't do a lot of prep work for this. You're just like, oh, we're going to talk about happiness. And then my mind started going to so many different places. But like you guys already mentioned, that is the coolest part of our job, is that people come in and they're not thinking about, hey, I want to be happy. They're not even there yet. But we kind of know in the back of our mind, like, I know it's about your pain, but like there's a whole more expressed to you on the other side of this pain that we get to hold space for. And that's just such a beautiful thing that we get to witness. And so, of course, I think about it in my own life. I think a lot of people think happiness is this place that you arrive to, and like, I just want to be happy. And you fall into trouble a little bit with that too, because when you think you just want to be happy, it's this certain idea of what happiness is. Sometimes all you see everything in your life that it's not that thing. And so rather than, like, for me at least, noticing when I'm chasing that, to kind of bring it back to actually everything right now is all here within me. And it was no longer this place I had to go to, but more so, well, what can I do right now in this moment to just shift a little bit, to like know that being happy isn't for me actually this highly elevated feeling, which is interesting, being with someone like Erica, who, like, she feels her thing so big, and naturally I could look at her and be like, oh, well, I'm not feeling like that. Am I happy? And we just both have our own little brand of happiness, your own version that makes you feel really joy. And for me, I feel the most happy when I'm feeling connection with others, when I feel connected to myself, when I'm in nature, when I listen to a good song, and how it makes me feel. So for me, it was a journey of, instead of happiness being out here, it was asking myself, like, what makes me happy? Loren, only me, because that's really the only thing that matters. We're all different, and we're all the only one living as yourself, you know?
I am not living as you.
Yeah, like I don't know what it's like. So your happiness.
We can't jump in each
yeah,
other's bodies.
Yeah,
We've tried, but it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Maybe someday.
Yeah, assume that what makes you happy may or may not make me happy. And so I'm not going to keep looking to you and seeing what other people are doing, but like just tuning in and what makes me happy, and then just reaching for those things that are maybe just right here instead of really far.
Why do you think some people are not happy?
I think naturally, like people compare, you know, like I said, like just, well, what's that person doing? What are they doing? And you get in the pattern of that, and you're just seeing the lack. You're not seeing like, oh, no, I'm just thinking about like how they're happy. You're giving out that frequency of, I'm not that, I'm not that, I'm not that, I'm not that. So I think we're, again, to concise it to my answer is people aren't happy because they're living out here in the world, not in here in your own inner world. If you are in your inner world and it's not a fun place to be, that's why we go out. Yeah. So it's always coming back, and you're the only one in control of this, and just finding those right tools and good people and love and relationships and connections with yourself and others to help you kind of get to that place. Yeah. That's my version.
Who's next? Who's next?
I will share.
We have a volunteer.
The
I'll volunteer.
completely different answer.
Yeah.
Completely different answer coming up.
I feel like I was just having this conversation with somebody the other day, and what Loren's kind of alluding to is what I call like rock star happiness. And she's an undergrad, and she's like, I have a lot of fun in my life. Like, I have a lot of fun. I'm really happy. And then I go through these like crazy moments of depression. And she was like, it's this like crazy wheel that I like tailspin on. And she's like, I just want to be happy. Like, what does that actually look like? And I feel like that rock star happiness, like that, like you're having these really big hits of dopamine and these like really big experiences are not necessarily sustainable for your body. So they come with those crashes. And that's essentially what she was asking me, of balance. But more so than that, and this conversation, I was thinking, I think it's actually meaning that we put in these things, because if she knew the meaning of why she was going out, partying, having fun with her friends, and it all was in alignment with who she wanted to become, that happiness would probably be really sustainable, and those down crashes would also probably not shake her as much. So it had me thinking, at least for myself, like, what is the greatest meaning I can have in my moments, in my days? And for me, happiness is purely just connection. If I can connect with myself and I know where I'm at, space, time, emotions, reality, it can connect with where you're at. And if it's extremely present, there's something really beautiful that happens between us. So for me, happiness is meaningfulness and connection. I also wanted to say real quick too, because whenever I was in undergrad, I remember I was really into Gabby Bernstein, which you guys know, because I felt like we were living, she had this crazy life that she experienced when she was promoting clubs and doing all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's me. And then she's like, turns into a yogi. And I was like, that's kind of me too. And her slogan was like, become the happiest person you know. And at that point, I remember I was like, that really resonated with me. I was like, what would that look like to become the happiest person you know? And literally there were many synchronicities that brought us four together, but one of the craziest ones to me was whenever I saw the REV slogan, live a happier, healthier life, excuse me. Wow, maybe we need punchlines.
Live a.
This is our slogan from a long time.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I couldn't
think
even
that's
say
our
it.
slogan
Yeah, I literally
anymore.
couldn't even
Maybe,
say it,
maybe we're
but-
bringing it back.
But it was just so in alignment with that, where I was like, that's what people I think do. They come to us now and they're like, some people will even tell us, they're like, I don't even know why I said yes. Something about your happiness. You guys just seem like you're living a good life. And then they stick around for a couple weeks or a month and they're like, oh, and now I'm feeling better.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes.
Oh, now I know. Yeah, now I got a taste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just long enough to get a taste.
We've had people say, "Yeah, I'm just sticking around here because I just every time I come here, I'm so happy. I'm just so smiling."
Yeah.
So they're like, "Yeah, the stuff I came in originally, like that's all good and it's all gone, and I don't know what I'm necessarily looking for next, but I just love being here." And I'm
I like the way
"That's
I
enough.
feel."
I like the way I
Yeah.
feel. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
Something that you just said, Erica. Like I remember like learning about energy in like over a decade ago, and it's like the universe. Energy is always seeking to maintain balance, and we have those swings. You know, Dr. Suki talks about it, the negative and positive, and really the our power is when we're centered, right? And I got that about like not going too low and not letting the pain and anxiety like take you and sweep you away. But then when I started thinking about it, it's like the highs as well. If we have too much of that and we're not grounded, like I almost thought like that doesn't make any sense. Like if I'm happy and experiencing something, like shouldn't I be over joyful and elated?
Yeah.
But if you aren't grounded and you're not present in the moment, then we do see that as like you're out on the top of the mountain, like rock stars, movie stars, you know, all these people that have had the life, right? But they weren't grounded within themselves. What happens? That equal and opposite, right? That crash begins.
I think the consequence of that is why is that bad to have that high? Because now you have an attachment to that. Because if you're attached to the high, then what happens when it goes down? You will be going down right with it. So it's like you still are in the high, but you're just like, there's some part of you that, like I said, is, I guess, grounded and balanced, and you still get to experience everything that comes with it, but you're not like on for the ride, because that means when it goes down, you're gonna be on for the ride for that too. Yeah.
We actually don't even use the word like happiness, I would say, in our household.
I never
The
say
reason
it.
why I wanted to talk about happiness because I think it's really relatable. Like that's why people are looking for, but it's not even about like if Matt and I like we're talking at home or whatever, having a bad day, my word is never I'm unhappy. It's I feel disconnected.
Yeah, I feel disconnected.
I feel out of alignment. I would say like
taking ownership of it.
Which is a productive thing to say, because if you're disconnected, you can then reconnect. You always have that opportunity and ability.
And sorry, Matt, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I think if you have a deeper like purpose in your life too, like we're all living for a really big mission and a really big goal, it's kind of like the meaning that I'm giving it. Like I'm always happy. Like I'm headed towards my purpose. I'm headed towards my vision. How could I not be happy? Right now in this temporary moment, I might be experiencing stress or anxiety, but like globally and overall, I'm happy.
Well, if your nervous system is the seek and find mechanism, as we share with people, and we believe that it is, if you keep focusing in those experiences that are bad and focus on the badness of it, how awful it is, you're going to keep seeing that and attracting that more into our life. But I think one of the biggest lessons that I have tried to implement in my life, and I know we all do as well, is in the most challenging of experiences, like asking the question like, what's the gift in this? What good is going to come from this? And I swear we've had like experiences that have been extremely challenging. And just that simple question of like, I know there's good in here. And almost like how can you find joy? How can you find happiness even in the worst of experience? I feel like that's kind of a trick to be able to be in that moment of, or be in that presence of happiness and joy, even when life is not giving you an opportunity to express that fullness of it as well.
What makes you happy?
So I was thinking about this, and I'm going to maybe go a different route, but you know, it's obviously going within, as Loren shared, finding the meaning and purpose of life that makes everyone happy. I'm going to go the route of like, in order to be happy, you have to put yourself in situations to be happy, right? I think a lot of people are waiting for something to just show up to make them happy. I think about like my life, because I'm the only one in this body as of right now. Just me.
You're such a vibes guy.
You know, and there's gonna be times that you don't want to go out, you don't want to go do stuff, but like we're meant to live. Like we're not meant to go to our 9-to-5 job, come home, eat the same dinner, watch the same TV and movie shows, and go to bed and rinse, recycle, repeat. Like now, there's a lot of people that do that, but they're not living, right? They're just kind of going throughout their day. To go to Loren's point, like what does make you happy, right? And that can be like obviously the own internal feelings that you have to go through, but like you like to be out in nature, you like to go, listen to good music, play music. Okay, do more of those things on a daily basis. Me, I like people. That's not a surprise. I like to be around people. My energy type is like
not a surprise.
It's not a surprise. I
like the vibe.
If I'm having a bad day, like yes, I'll be by myself for a little bit, but I just have to go walk the pedestrian bridge here in Chattanooga, and I just gotta walk by like 5 people, and I'm like, I'm ready to rock and roll. Like so, like we've been playing softball recently. I used to play baseball for 18 years of my life. Getting back on the baseball field, being with a team like we played last night, like it's freaking fun. Like I am happy playing that. I was playing basketball once or twice a week for a very long time because I know that my body responds really well and I feel good when I can do that. We've been going to concerts and singing and just dancing. Like we've gone to more concerts over the last like 3-4 months than we have probably in the last couple of years. So,
Ever in my life, actually.
so I just say that because like, if you're wanting happiness, you can get it. You can make it happen, and it's putting yourself in situations that like, yeah, these kind of things. I light up during this, so like, put yourself in the situation to be happy more often.
I want to speak to that person who maybe isn't putting themselves in that position more often, and there's a reason, right? Like, life has just kind of put them probably in a place of overwhelm, and their system's like, no way, that's too much. And maybe you naturally make the same choices and habits that keep you there. And then it's just now this thing that used to be really fun for you, it's not even your paradigm anymore. You're so far gone, right? And so that's why, again, the importance of, we always say, of going back within, asking yourself the question, making the baby step to do it and to shift. But people just get into a pattern of that, and it's really hard to just make that decision easily. And actually, like, for me, we're on the same softball team, and I told Erica this. Someone asked if I wanted to play, and my first thought wasn't like, yeah. I was like, I probably should. I probably should, because I like to wind down in the evening, and the games are going to start at 9:15 p.m. and like, that ain't me. But I said, future me, like future Loren, will be happy that I said yes to this. Right now in the moment, I probably don't feel like it, but I'm going to set myself up. And still, when I see the games at 9:15, I was like, when I get there, I know I'll be happy. Or like after the game, I'm always glad that I went. But it is a practice to say, okay, this actually first instinct based on how I'm feeling right now in this moment, I know I can't trust that sometimes, but I think about future Loren a lot. I'm like, that's probably going to be really good for me. And it is. It's been so fun.
So much fun.
Yeah.
So much fun.
The 9:15 game was not.
It's a little late.
9:15
But
game.
every time I leave, I'm like,
Yeah.
it was so
Like
fun.
lit up.
I'm jazzed
Yeah.
up, and I'm not going to sleep till at least midnight.
And like, it's good, right? It's good for you. It's like good community, good fun.
Love it.
So I've been thinking about this question because this is actually, the stars aligned for us to actually film this today.
This is our third attempt to try to do the video.
Universe was,
Yeah.
it's perfect timing.
Perfect timing.
And I've just been thinking about this a lot, and I love this question because I just think it's good to just have insight on like my own happiness or my own level of experience in my life. And I just feel like I've come to the conclusion, and my answer is that I really believe happiness is not what we should be going for, first of all, because if you're feeling any sort of emotion that's not happiness, then you're gonna be like, well, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
It's like I just kind of want to throw that to the side. But again, we're doing it because this is like a catchy word that people are always looking for.
Are you saying that's the positive side effect by doing something else, focusing on something else? The side effect, the positive side effect, is that you are happy, but we shouldn't necessarily
Correct.
reach. Okay,
Symptom of
Correct. I'm
happiness.
getting there.
sweet.
I really believe that my own happiness is actually being in alignment. That's all. Like, I've been very, very unhappy in seasons of my life, especially when I was like sick and my life got ripped from me. And I know what it feels like to be like suffering and depressed. I deeply know that feeling. And even the last 10 years, I would say I have the highest frequency and most happiness I've had since being a little child, because I was born that way. You know what I mean? Lady Gaga. But I feel like even within that, I have moments of human feelings that I feel moments of depression. I feel moments of grief, moments of shame, or whatever it may be. And if I attach to those moments, then I would tell myself I'm not happy. But you'd have to know that everyone's a human and you're going to have those experiences. And if you go into life thinking that you're never going to experience things like that, then you're definitely going to be unhappy. Like, that's a recipe for unhappiness. But I feel like for me, like, that's why I have a line on this bracelet, the ones that Eric and I made. Alignment is like so important to me, because when you're in alignment with the life that you're supposed to live, then the situations that you want to be in present themselves and you say yes to it. You know what I mean? Then you can, I guess, have the meaning that you're saying. I think everything is in alignment. And within the alignment, you have opportunities to grow and to go out of your comfort zone. And within that, like Tony Robbins says it, like, growth is directly related to happiness. And so that little bit of progress of like, yes, like, I know I did this thing that I really maybe didn't want to do, but I grew because of it. Now I'm wiser. Now I'm more connected. Now I'm more whole and complete. that actually makes me feel really happy. So like, I feel like that's what it is. And another piece that I was thinking is I feel like integration is also happiness, because if there's moments from your past that you're still hanging on to, like, let's, this person did this to me, or I can't believe that, I don't know, I did that to somebody else, I'm feeling shame from my past, then I'm attaching to shame, and then I'm unhappy. So integration is healing the past experiences and releasing it from your body, so you're not dwelling on it. Even if you don't know you're consciously dwelling on it, subconsciously you are, and your body's reliving it all the time. So I feel like just releasing the past and being in the present, which Loren talks a ton about, we all talk a ton about, that to me, I feel happy, and that's not even the right word. I just feel me. I feel like my true self, and that to me feels very happy.
Nice. I want to touch on what you said about alignment, like being in alignment. I feel like people may know what that means, or feel like they kind of know, or maybe they don't know what that means at all because they've been so off. And so I feel like I have my theories, right? Like with alignment, basically it's that when you feel like there's music and birds chirping and like you're like in your own movie, like just to know what that feeling is for you first, to know when you feel good, what that even feels like, right? And to connect with that. But also, I feel like the best measure of growth is knowing that you will not always be in alignment all the time. But like, we're going to go visuals here with my hands. I got to use my hands. So like, let's say alignment is right here, and we're going to fluctuate like a little bit, right? We're going to have really awesome days. We're going to have really off days. But the growth is to know that you're gonna be fluctuating, but you don't go as far. So maybe like you have a bad day, but you know more tools now to kind of get you back into alignment. And so with that, you're accepting all of it. You're okay with all of it. Like, I'm feeling off, but I know how to get back. I'm not going to rush it. I'm going to allow this shame or anxiety or whatever it is that's maybe not feeling as good, I'm going to allow it rather than resist it, because that keeps you off a little bit longer. So I think it's like such a journey of knowing what your alignment feels like and knowing how to get back to it and letting it all exist.
I also feel like, sorry if I didn't. No. Okay. I also feel like a piece of alignment, just to piggyback off you, is that like alignment is also like being in the career path that you're meant to be in.
Yes.
Like we work with so many people, like for instance, this one man who was working at a nursery, like a beautiful plant place. Like, who wouldn't want to work with plants? I mean, I'm a big plant person. I mean, actually, maybe a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
But I think it's a beautiful environment. And that's actually not what he wanted to do. He wanted to be a plumber. Like, of all the things, that's what lights his soul up. So I actually feel like talking about alignment, if you're like, well, what is that? Well, are you really happy with like the career choice that you have chosen? Or did you choose that because that's what you thought you should have? Or maybe your mom or dad said that you should, definitely got to do this because it's reliable. But like, if someone's like a lawyer, but their soul's song is to have a paintbrush and to like go crazy on a canvas, you can still do your career path, but you have to exercise whatever your soul's expression wants to express.
Like, spend so much time there. Yeah.
She's not saying to quit your job after watching this video, but maybe if it's something.
Maybe I'm not.
Maybe you should.
I'm not saying
maybe
that.
she,
or
maybe
someone watching this is questioning it. It's a sign. I don't know.
It's a sign, bro.
It's a sign, bro.
Yeah, I was gonna say something. With that client I was chatting about with earlier, that's essentially what we were talking about. She's like, I'm in school and I'm not set up to be doing what I want to be doing, and I have an idea of what it is that I want to be doing. And I told her, I was like, I think our life like lives or gives us clues that we've already lived. Like, there's probably something about that job that sparked your interest in the first place, or there's probably something, and you're saying it too, like you feel it. Like, what does that feel like for you? But I was like, take inventory of your life. Like, any relationship that you're in that you maybe don't like, or any job that you're in that maybe you don't like, there are things there that are good. And maybe it's like every single moment, if I'm calm in my body, I can start responding to, that's a yes for me, that's a no, that's a yes. And it's like you're kind of practicing dating your job now for that dream job that you really want. And as you said, Matt, like when we start just tilting towards that alignment, those things start coming to us.
We just had a client who she was working in a medical office for a year or so and just miserable. Like every time she came in, I was like, like this happened. It was just wearing on her. And she finally switched to a new office, and she's a week in, and I checked in there. She's like, oh, I feel like me again. And like that is really important,
It's
you
worth
know,
it.
to know that you weren't feeling like you. And like that is the greatest sign of alignment, that you just know what you feel like,
Yeah.
you know?
As much as we say we can't control our external circumstances, we have to work
Sometimes
on
you gotta
ourselves.
change your environment.
Sometimes
Yeah.
we do have to change our environment.
But I feel like a lot of people don't. Sorry if you ask
Okay.
me. It's because I was also thinking about this. I really believe that happiness requires bravery. So, like
Yeah.
those people who are unhappy in a relationship or at their job or whatever it may be, or just like they need to have this conversation they know they need to have, that requires bravery. And if you're not being brave, you're staying where you are. And I know what that feels like, to just be like, well, this is what I decided. Got to stay in this office job that I actually hate every single day. It's actually harder to stay in that job because the chemicals that are released in your body from that dissatisfaction, anger, whatever it may be, is really leading towards disease, like 100%. So we must take that step and just get that courage and bravery to make that next step. And that's what's been one of the biggest things in my life, is to exercise bravery. And that has been really hard at times,
Oh,
but
it's such
worth
a
it every time.
You're doing so great.
growth. Yeah.
So brave.
I was reading this book by Dr. David Hawkins. Incredible guy if you read any of his books, but it was the levels of consciousness, and every level of emotion basically has a certain frequency. And the book was starting you at the lowest frequency of like shame and fear, and you kind of going up. And I was getting up and up and up, and there, one of the frequency, or one of the levels, was courage. And there was something in my life at that time that I knew I needed to do and handle, and I was not. And I couldn't read past that. It was like such a sign for me, like, I have to do this. I have to be courageous. And again, like once you can break free, there's so much more potential there. But it was just such a sign for me. But these emotions have a certain frequency, and courage is up there. You know, it is brave. But what does everyone say, even you included? When you did the brave thing, you felt so much better after. Like it wasn't as scary as maybe you thought it was, or even if it was, you still handled it. Like you did it.
Great.
Like
Atta girl.
yeah.
I wanted to bring something up because you touched on it, and I want to like hit it with you guys, because I think it is really important. Like your situations, and maybe getting yourself into a new place, aligning with yourself. These are all beautiful things, but something you said was the Tony Robbins thing, and I was thinking about that too. The science of happiness, right? What does it come down to? Making little micro steps in progress. There's that term back in the day, progress equals perfection, right? Do you guys remember that a few years ago? That was going on social media. But the reality is that's exactly what happiness is, making these little steps towards a goal. And the trick is, it's like there's nowhere to get to, because once you set a goal and you do said goal, what happens? There's a fall, right? There's like, I've achieved my goal. Now what, right? People in business, athletes, like it's like, oh, I reached my goal, and then they become super unhappy because there's not something else. Earl Nightingale said something along the lines of like, the definition of success is moving towards an admirable goal, like just continuing to make progress. And I just feel like it's a really powerful thing that you can do, because if you are feeling unhappy, you are feeling out of alignment, you are feeling disconnected. Right here, right now, as you're watching this video, like once you get finished, like, what's one thing that I can do to get more into alignment? And maybe it's the smallest thing. Maybe it's a single breath. And tomorrow, maybe you do 2 breaths. And then the next day, you make more and more shifts and changes. And I've just seen it too much, the power of the compounding effect, doing things day in, day out, day in, day out. You just find yourself in a completely different place 7, 14 days, 21 days down the road of just these little micro shifts. So I just wanted to open that up, because I feel like it's a powerful thing that people can apply right here,
Like
right
now.
Yeah.
I also feel like another thing that a lot of people are watching this are just like, I don't even know what you guys are saying. Maybe they're not even to that point where it's like it's I don't know, a harder conversation for them. It all is awareness. It's all just like paying attention to your every single day, paying attention to your life, and just being like, why do I feel this way right now? Or like, why am I acting this way? I just think that is like the biggest first step that we can always get better at. Like we can always become more aware, but awareness leads to like decisions, and like we can choose again, we can be different, and leads to courage, leads to opportunities, all these things. So like I think awareness is the beginning of anything. Like I remember when I was feeling very unhappy, especially when I was like sick, I was like, why, this is a strange feeling. Why am I unhappy? You know what I mean? I begin to ask these questions and like tune in. And then once you're aware, you become more aware, and then you really can't do anything about it, because then you're like I was literally suffering within that feeling of just like, I have to change. Like I have to do something different. And when I was working at an office, when I was like 21, 22, 23, I was just like, I like what is here. Like, I don't know if you guys were saying, it was like something about this is for me, but there's like, I knew this wasn't my path to be in the rest of my life. I knew that like my next step was to actually have my own office and do it in my own way, my own expression. And that again took that bravery, but I needed that awareness of that. Why am I unhappy in this job? Oh, I'm actually not supposed to be here long term. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then what can I do about it, kind of thing?
It's almost a catch-22, right? With the more awareness that we have, the more louder things are, and you are a great example of that. Like, I just always remember, I'm like, can't we just like chill? Can't we just not keep going deep within ourselves? And she's like, no, we're going to continue to evolve. And then it's like, all right, we're on this path forever.
Something, I don't know who said this, but Monica has told me this before. One time I remember we were chatting and I was like going through something that I was just like so resistant to. I don't even remember what it was, but it was clearly making me quote unquote unhappy. And I was like, I just don't want to do it. And you're like, what a beautiful moment for you. You get to break through and have this like growth moment. And I'm like, I'm happy to have these mirrors in my life like this. But you also brought up Tony Robbins then, and you told me that kids from like 0 to 18 are like physically growing like every day. Like their bodies go through like literally so much change, like especially in the very like drawing, writing, all this, everything's new. But I forget what age you said it was, but there comes a certain point in your life where you stop growing. And most people, when they turn like 60 and 70, their happiness is determined by how much they grew in their 30s, 40s. And I was like, I have to do this then. Like, then I have to go and I have to make this next step, because I also knew that that resistance was only going to keep hitting me in other areas of my life. It's like, I knew I had to kind of make a decision and clear that pattern basically anyways, but it was just resistance and it was just my own thing dealing with it. But also in that moment, like, I was nervous is what I remember. I was like really anxious, really, uncomfortable. And I think about like nervousness and excitement are like the same exact vibration. And you guys know now, something about me does not really get nervous. Like I just don't really, but every once in a while I will, and I will just tell myself, this is also what excitement feels like. This is also what growth feels like.
A reframe of it.
Yeah.
I love that you brought that up. I forgot that we had talked about that. That changed a lot for me. I'll just kind of sum it up too. He was basically saying that's why children are so happy. You see, like your children are children out at the park. They're just running and screaming and just like meeting a stranger. Hey, we're best friends. Like this is everything's new and everything's exciting and everything's about growth. Like they're walking, they're learning to read, they're whatever. And it's just like this progress. Like we were talking about progress. Then eventually you get like 18 and you become an adult. And then you're not really having those moments to grow. You're actually kind of done physically growing, like you were saying, but you also are not really growing. Like you've already learned to read. So like what else can you begin to learn to do that's different? And it's not mirrored for us. Like our culture, like our parents do the same thing. They're happy when they're young. And then when they're, in middle age and older, it's like they're doing the same thing all the time. Maybe in a career path they don't love. It's not demonstrated for the most part how to grow and be different and seek those new experiences basically to like.
It's so funny, like happy people don't think about being happy. Like I think someone said that before, but when I see someone who's really into something, they're just a nerd about it, or like they are so involved.
Snorkeling.
Whatever. If you said like, oh, you're so happy, they'd be like, what? I don't even like, I'm not thinking about
just
it.
doing my thing,
I'm just so like present with what I'm doing, and I'm so interested and intrigued. And I do feel like we get these like little signs from God, from the universe, whatever, to like, if you're interested in something and you want to know more, listen to that. Like I think sometimes our culture isn't set up for that, to nurture that. But again, that's on you to listen and trust that maybe there's something here if I go down this path, because this particular topic is so intriguing to me. And like, yeah, follow that, see where it goes.
And that's why I think having like a community
Mhm.
that's in alignment with you, like you would maybe inspire me. Like if you're doing something different, you're
Mhm.
like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm playing softball. I'm a little maybe uncomfortable. It's outside, it's late at night or whatever. That inspires me to maybe do something in my life. So that's why your community, like your 5 people that you hang around the most, that really matters as far as happiness. Because if everyone is depressed, the chances that I'm depressed are skyrocketed because of that. That's just how it works.
And I think as adults, we live life a certain way. And like when we get past 18, we're no longer growing. But because when we get to adulthood, like even at 21, like there's this like feeling of like, I got to have it all figured out. And then in our 30s, we have to have it all figured out. 40s, like, no, we should know what we're doing, right? I'm going to be straight up. I'm in my mid 30s and I've come to the place like I have no answers. And I think what we heard a long time ago through like our meditation practice is having a beginner's mind, like having that beginner's mind, that openness to follow something that interests you, to learn something new, to take that risk like a child is just going to do a whole bunch of different things. And this is for the people that are listening to this that like it's just so they feel like it's so hard to make a change. I'm going to acknowledge, yeah, it is hard because you've had 20, 30, 40 years of life experiences. That's why a kid, when they come into Rev, like I was just talking to a woman today, like her son has been processing something really, really deep and he's moved through it so quickly, which he's been having trouble and he's only been with us for a few weeks. I was like, yeah, because a 12-year-old boy doesn't have all the years of baggage of crap in their system that they're trying to process through. So all that to be said, like you have the ability to make shifts and changes, and guess what? It might be very challenging, but you can do it with these little micro steps over and over again.
That's a really good point. It's also going back to the integration, I believe, is directly related to happiness. Because if you are watching this video and you're like, yeah, I love these concepts, but I'm in my 50s, 60s, and I've been doing this for like 30 years, whatever it may be, and thinking about doing something different or making that next step in my life that I deeply know would help me just feels really hard. Just like, ugh, like the groans from within you are so loud. That's really, integration is going to be the remedy for this, because all your life experiences have built up in your body. And if you can process them, it frees you so you can actually make a decision differently, faster. You know what I mean? Like,
isn't there that wasn't there a runner, like a triathlete woman who's like in her 70s or something like that, and she didn't start doing it till she was like 55, 60 years old, and now she's like amazing at 7 years old.
And it inspires so many other people too. I also think happiness is not, it's not a thing, it's the feeling. So if we know that it's a feeling, like the feeling again only happens inside of us. So again, it's just a trap, I think, to find, oh, that person's happy because they're doing that, so I need to do that and then I'll, be happy. But it's like, no, it's a feeling. And again, we got to see Dr. Joe Dispenza this past weekend and at our continuing education seminar, and we've known him for years and his work. And just a good reminder always is you can train your body, you can train your nervous system to bask in the feeling of being happy. And again, it goes back to knowing what that is, what helps elicit that feeling within you. But at any moment, like you carve out time, you get disciplined, and you can literally train your nervous system to feel that. And then you just are that. And then things happen on the outside. You're like, this is great. I was already fine, kind of thing. But I do want to I feel like that is such a thing to see what other people are doing outside and like thinking it's the thing. It's not the thing.
and that's like
it's the
social
feeling.
media too. does
Yeah,
that.
like friends, anything out there. Yeah.
And what would you say if someone's doing that, they're feeling okay, so they're making changes, they're feeling happiness, but then the next day someone says something, triggers something, and they're no longer happy anymore?
Great, that's the work. Awesome. Here's
Great,
your
I'm
assignment.
aware. Great, I'm aware.
To me, that's the homework assignment, right? It's not just like to be, oh, this is what happiness feels like. Okay, how quickly when you're unhappy can we come back to that? Not even how quickly, but just, okay, now you're there. here's your assignment. We want to be here. How can we shift this? It's just being mindful.
And for me, it's like, what did that mean? Okay, how can I heal from that experience? You know what I mean? Or what is this teaching me?
Yeah.
That's really what it is. Now I come back to center.
I like they
And
call
now
it
I
assignment.
connect.
Yeah, I like they call it
Yeah.
assignment. We got some homework to do
That's
after
the
this
work.
video.
That's like why the nervous system is so important, though. It's like this is our perception of literally everything around us. So if we have, like we said, these unintegrated experiences of stress and overwhelm and anxiety, they pop up in these moments and they cloud the entire thing. Like I literally remember, guys, one of the happiest quote unquote times, if I were to say like on paper, of my life. When we were living in Nashville, I would say that on paper, that would have been one of the happiest times of my life. Like we didn't have to, we weren't working, so we had all this time
Should've
to
been.
explore
Should've been.
the city.
No
Hold on,
responsibility.
should have been. Yeah, no responsibility. All this, like we were going out, having a great time. And I look back, and whenever I was actually living that experience, I was so depressed because I had not integrated so many experiences that I could not even like look up and see what was around me. And at the second I started getting back to like, I wasn't meditating, I wasn't doing my stuff, I wasn't getting sessions, I was really just kind of floating through it. Like depression likes the familiar past like that. But I wish I would have really been able to be in my body, to be regulated, to be grounded, to actually enjoy that experience. Because at that point, I would have said that's the lowest point of my life. Looking back now, I'm like, I would do anything to have 6 months like that.
I feel like a lot of people can connect with that, where I feel like life is good. Like I hear that a lot
Yeah.
actually in here. Like, I mean, my family's healthy, I have friends, but I'm not like, I don't feel it. And again, like just to keep, I know we're hitting this really hard, but coming back to this, like you have to take care of this so that you can actually experience this, like the outside. But yeah, I think a lot of people, it's like, oh, it should be good, but I'm not good.
That's how it was for me, especially like, I don't know, my mid-20s, I would say. Like I had the friends, like I had all the things, and I'm like, why am I like not feeling great? And it's because I was disconnected. Like I was not connected to who I truly was. Therefore, I couldn't show up authentically. And then I couldn't have authentic conversations and all of that. So I just feel like connection is the biggest thing. And if you're like, well, I live in Oklahoma and I know you guys do integration and stuff like that, but I can't come. You can nourish your body. Like you can really make the right decisions every single day. Movement, connecting to your breath, like meditation. There's a million things that you can do every single day that can connect you deeper to who you truly are. Who you truly are finds alignment, and then your life will align around who you're being so that you can live the life that you actually really want to live.
And for all you Oklahomans, you guys, we have a package that you can come for a week journey package and enjoy our sessions. We have a huge influx of
and the loads of videos that we've done. I think you can find some cool tools in there too. To figure out,
But what you said is like it's within. Like you can cultivate by like living a healthy lifestyle, but it's like I'm doing all this stuff, and like people ask like, what can I do? And it's like we always like the answer is within. And like some people when they hear that, like whatever, like, but no, like tell me what drug, what like experience do I need, what breath work,
tell me exactly
what foods, and like there's nothing out there that is as powerful as what's inside. Like literally, you were created from a sperm and an ovum, and now you're hundreds of trillions of cells. You have the ability to create these amazing chemical cocktails from all of these glands to help you to be happy. But if we're not taking the time and not owning our own stuff, essentially, we can never connect to it. So I love this conversation.
Also, another thing that I thought of, which is all the same thing that we're saying, it's just different language, is like self-love is like the number one thing for being happy. And that is pure connection, pure alignment. It's just saying it in a different way, but it's like really loving yourself. And like, I remember first hearing that and I'm like, what? Like, that sounds great, but like when I look in the mirror, like I don't feel that. Like I don't know. And when people don't love themselves, they look for love outside of themselves, and that is a recipe for a lot of things that is the opposite of happiness. But really just like loving yourself is the best thing that we can all work on every single day.
Yeah. And if that, like you said, is kind of hard, like how do I love myself? How do you love your people in your life? You know? You take care of them, you look out for them, you carve out time to hang out with them. It's the same, but for you.
And it's like being okay by yourself too. Like there's times when I made this really cool jean jacket vest and I etched on these like flower embroidery on the back. And anyways, I'd be by myself for so many durations of time. And I'm just like, I love just doing this, like being by myself. And I feel like that in those moments, there's many moments I feel happiness, but I really felt happy just because I'm okay being in this temple for majority of the time. You know what I mean? Like I don't need anything else. I choose that.
Yeah. I literally, when I think about self-love, I'm like, okay, I'm going to have a day by myself. If I was my own friend, you know, and I'm like, oh, what does she like to do? Oh, she likes to go on a hike and she likes this food and let's get a coffee first and listen to this kind of music. Like that's literally like, that's love, you know, that's like, it's, you're considering yourself and like, what do I need? And that can be kind of foreign for people.
Yeah.
Someone, I forget, I think it was like Abraham Hicks that said this, but you know when you're in alignment or you know when you're in that flow, when you're doing something like what you're saying, Monica, like an art project and your feet start falling asleep or your brain starts completely drifting off into like another moment. Or I'll even notice myself like meditating sometimes and all of a sudden I'm smiling whenever my eyes open up. I'm like, I don't know. I know that I wasn't. Yeah, I'm like,
cheesy
but
grin.
I'm like, that is alignment for me, and like finding that flow. It really just feels like whenever I think about people in front of me or opportunities or situations, I narrow it down to like a yes and a no, and a yes is alignment, a no is not. And it's like my heart opens, I start to like open even my like head up a little bit, smiling, and I just start to feel what that feels like, because if I know what I feel like whenever I'm in alignment, I feel like I can start navigating these opportunities or responses in my life that might lead me to more happiness, quote unquote, or not.
Any last words? Like we went over
we
a
threw
lot.
everything.
Formula here.
I think that's it, but I
Yeah.
think the last piece is like to really hit it home, because I'm just listening to us. We're talking about alignment and going in. It's like the last piece that I really just want people to know is all this is truly possible. Yes, you got to do the things to put yourself in a situation and look at yourself. But I think a lot of people want to act instead of going inward. And if I can just say one last thing, like all of the answers are within you, and how you connect to that is sitting in silence, sitting and breathing for long periods of time. Like do less to feel more happiness is what I would say.
When they do that, they might have really uncomfortable feelings come up. So what would you say in those moments, how to work through that?
That's the work, right? Just like Loren said,
assignment.
there it is. And do it. There it is, right?
That's your mountain to move.
And then maybe it gets a little bit better the next day, a little bit easier the next day. Most people, like this is why we have people come lay on the tables for 15, 30 minutes, once to twice to 3 times a week. In the beginning, it gets less and less as time goes on, because that most likely 90% of people aren't probably spending anywhere amount of time doing that at home. So this is just accelerating that process. But it literally, I can almost, you can guarantee if you spent 15 minutes every single day of just focusing on your breath, being quiet and listening, I promise you your life will get better in months, if not weeks, and definitely over time, like years later, you will literally create a brand new person.
I've heard someone call that like their inner hum. Like that little sense of like of love and like safe and home, and that like, oh, here I am, you know? So like sit and like it's always there for you, and the more you do that, the easier you can connect with that.
I think to answer the what we hear is when that negative thought comes up, and this is what it is just observe it. Like don't judge it. Don't like maybe it elicits an emotion, but if you just keep breathing, eventually it will pass. And then it almost surprises, like, oh, that thought's gone. But then you start thinking about it again, but then what you said, come back.
And it might not even be true, whatever that thought is. It could just be.
And if you want to resist it, it's actually gonna make it worse. Like, oh, get out of here. You can't. Like, okay, welcome it.
What
And
resists,
it'll move.
what resists persists.
Meditation 101.
Any last words?
I could go on and on.
I know this
That's perfect.
This is a great start. We really hope that you guys found so much value in this, and our heart and our intention for this video was to really just like reframe happiness. Like I believe everyone deserves a life of alignment and connection, and happiness is just a byproduct of that, but it's not like we experience happiness 24/7. Like that's just not how it truly works, but we are born to be connected to our truest expression, and that's really what this conversation was about. So if you found value in this, please share it with a friend. Please comment below. We'd love to hear from you, and like it, and we'll see you guys next time.